In the last stream, we were working on crafting this pretty powerful scythe to allow us to gather a ton of different essences from all of these different blocks with a simple right click of the scythe. And we used all of those essences to work our way through the crafting chain here to get to the ruby, which we then sanded into the Philosopher's Stone. And this is kind of our first step into Project E. We do already have the alchemy table, which is from Extended Exchange, which is an add-on mod to Project E, but this is really where it gets started, because now that we have the Philosopher's Stone, we can get things like the energy condensers, and maybe even more importantly, we can get the transmutation table, which is going to make it so much easier for us to get a lot of different resources going forward. So to make the energy condenser here, we need to get ourselves a fluid encapsulator, another machine from thermal expansion, and in that fluid encapsulator, we need an alchemical chest with 1 bucket of molten hepatizin. So the alchemical chest, I think, is by far and away the easiest part of the equation here. It's 1 of each covalence dust, 1 diamond, 2 iron, 2 stone, and a chest. Easy. The fluid encapsulator also shouldn't be too difficult. We do need to get another machine frame. That is not a problem. We also need another flux coil. We made a few of those in the last episode. Not too bad at all. And then we need 2 copper gears, which are also, at this point in time, incredibly easy for us to make, especially if the crafting recipe works. I'm not quite sure why that didn't shift click in, but if we try that one more time, it works, and then we can get ourselves the fluid encapsulator. Now, currently, we have these 2 dynamos here providing power to these 2 machines alone. I do think one of the first things that we should probably do here is look at getting some flux ducts. These are going to allow us to move the power from our dynamos and kind of distribute it amongst all of the machines that we want to use here. In order to make these, we do require some lead. Currently, we do not have any. Is there an easy way for us to make lead essence? Because if there is, that would be great. We can use uranium essence and air essence. That's not too bad. We do have uranium essence. Air essence we can get by... Oh, we don't have the transmutation table. Interesting. So we can't actually do that just yet. In that case, then, it's quite possible that we could make some energy cables from power. But then again, the power mod is kind of over here in the quest line. And I have a feeling we're not going to have unlocked that just yet. So it might actually be the case that we might, for now at least, might have to just put down the dynamos directly onto the machine. Never mind, I am a complete fool. Chat is right. We do have the ability to make the energy pipe from pipes, which we've had the ability to make for quite some time now. So if we quickly craft up a stack of those, what we should be able to do is just go ahead and move our food and lapis dynamos back by just 1 block here and here. And then from there, if we just do something like this, we should be able to set, of course, both of these pipes to extract, and then if we go ahead and throw down our fluid encapsulator, let's say right about there, we can then once again refill up this guy with food, refill up this guy with lapis, and we can always add more dynamos should we need to, but the fluid encapsulator does now have power, and so now we can put our alchemical chest in there, and we just need to get 1 bucket of molten hepatizin. Now, hepatizin is an alloy from Tinker's Construct, and it's made in the smeltery using molten quartz, molten cobalt, and molten copper. And if we put in 400 millibuckets, 1 block, 1 ingot, 2 ingots, that gets us 2 ingots. We are going to need quite a bit more than that, but that shouldn't be too difficult, I don't think. Quartz, we can get a ton of. Copper, we have a ton of. And then cobalt is really the only tricky bit. However, I do believe that in the last episode, we did figure out how to get cobalt essence. We can do it with netherite essence and mana steel essence. So never mind, I guess we didn't do it in the last episode then. It shows it coming off of the invar right there. We can't get hepatizin essence, can we? This is interesting, the fact that we can just craft these together. People are saying that the hepatizin ingot is easier. It totally is. 1 obsidian, 1 invar, and 2 copper. That makes it substantially easier, actually. So invar, we might have a couple of ingots worth. We do. We've got 8 copper. We've got a bunch of, and we can get more, of course, using our crushed copper from this chest. And then obsidian, we currently have 4. We got this from the hidden dimension. And if we do something like this, we can actually get a bunch more of it very quickly. And then back over in the induction smelter, it should just be as simple as throwing all 3 of those in. And if we wanted to, we could give it a quick tap with the time in the bottle. Each one of these ingots in the smeltery gets us a 90 millibuckets. So we're going to need 11 hepatizin ingots if we want to get 1 bucket worth of hepatizin. And it should, I think, just be as simple as throwing that into the smeltery waiting for it to melt, and then, assuming we have enough heat to melt it, which it looks like we do, I'm fairly certain that at that point, we should be able to get ourselves a bucket and just right-click on the drain to pull out a full bucket's worth of hepatizen. So up here, once that is melted, over here, I think if I just right-click onto the drain, we get a bucket of molten hepatizen, and if we go and right-click that onto our fluid encapsulator, that should get us the energy condenser. Now, to upgrade it to the Mark II, which I believe we do need if we're going to get the transmutation table, this requires the previous energy condenser with molten lumium. Molten lumium should be a fair bit easier for us to get because we do already have lumium essence. We can get more lumium essence, of course, from our lumium block over here. And I think what I might do here, chat, I might go ahead and make another energy condenser. It really shouldn't be too hard for us to get some more molten hepatizen. Again, we can just put this, and this back in here. We might need a little bit more invar to do it, but essentially with the energy condenser, what you can do is you can place this down, and then inside of it, any item that has an EMC value, for example, gold here has an EMC value of 2048, you can put that into the energy condenser, and now you can use other items to create gold. For example here, lumium has an EMC value of 992. It's probably a better example. Let's say we wanted to get more lumium here. We could put the lumium in, and then we could take, for example, some of our 300 iron, take that out. Each iron ingot has an EMC value of 256, and so 4 iron ingots should be able to be converted here into 1 lumium. Nice, with 32 EMC left over. And so my thought process here is that if we can quickly get a few more hepatizen ingots to make another energy condenser, what we should then be able to do is put the second energy condenser inside the first energy condenser, and then from there we basically have as many energy condensers as we like, and going forward, if we ever need more, we don't have to go through this process here of getting more energy condensers. It also means we can then use one of those two to make our Mark II energy condenser, and then we can do the same thing again. We can put the Mark II into the Mark I to duplicate it and get more of them, and then we can use that for the transmutation tablet, which is just like a more powerful version of all of this. Alright, so one more bucket of hepatizen later. Back over here, we can once again throw it into our fluid encapsulator. I did craft up another alchemical chest. We'll give it a quick tap, and boom, there is our second energy condenser. And so now in here, if we do something like this, we can now convert, for example, iron into energy condensers. Nice. And I do believe it stores the amount of EMC in here. So right now there's 5,000 EMC. That's not enough to get an energy condenser, but if we take that out and we put in, for example, gold, it does still convert that 5,000 EMC into gold as well. So it does store the used EMC in there. You don't lose it if you swap items, which is nice. Back over to here though, we just need 1 bucket of molten lumium and the energy condenser Mark I. So let's put you in here. Once again, 1 ingot worth of lumium gets us 90 millibuckets. So just like before, we're going to have to put 11 lumium ingots in. Thankfully, though, much easier than the hepatizen because we did go through the effort of making a block of lumium in the last episode. And so once again, we'll throw in, let's say, 11 lumium ingots into there. That should smelt up nice and fast, assuming we still have enough of the molten copper in there. We do indeed. Fantastic, although we are getting a little low on that. Once that's done, we are also going to want to make sure that it's at the bottom of the smeltery. All you have to do is click, by the way. You click here, left click moves it to the bottom. Like that, and boom, there's our molten lumium, and back over here, just like before, we can throw that into our fluid encapsulator, and just like last time, that's going to get us the tier 2 energy condenser, which we can then go and throw into our tier 1 energy condenser to make more of them. So I'm interested, actually, in what we have, if anything, that's high on EMC. We do have a staggering number of slime balls, which we can just take, and we can just kind of dump in here to create EMC. They're not very high in EMC themselves, but just the staggering amount that we have makes them a pretty good source of EMC. Every stack is 365,000 EMC, and we've got 11,000 slime balls in total. So there's a tier 2 energy condenser. This one is kind of the same as the tier 1 energy condenser. The only difference here, and I'm going to go ahead and break this. We will lose some EMC, but I think that's fine. The only difference here is that it has dedicated input and output slots on the left-hand right side, and it's also faster. So this time, if I go ahead and take a couple of stacks of slime balls and I put those in, they get taken much, much faster and converted into, in this case, energy condensers. Nice. And so now, the real reason that we're doing all of this is for the transmutation table. This requires us to deploy a Philosopher's Stone onto the energy condenser. Now, I don't think this is going to use the Philosopher's Stone, but just in case it does, we might as well go ahead and duplicate it. And so over here, all we should have to do is right-click this onto the bottom of one of these deployers, throw the Mark II energy condenser onto the belt, and kaboom, we get ourselves a transmutation table, and it did use the Philosopher's Stone, so it was a good job that we made some spares just in case. Now, I do believe that we can do two things here. One is we can look at making more of these right away, if we do something like this, and then again, I guess let's go and grab even more slime balls. The ender pearls are actually much better at this, I guess, because they just have a higher EMC value at base, but if we take one of these, we can now place this on the ground, and the benefit of this is that it's kind of the exact same as the energy condenser Mark II, but it's instantaneous, and it remembers the items that you've put in it. It remembers every single item that you ever put in, and allows you to use however much EMC you have to produce any of those items. So for example, let's say I put gold in. You can either put it into these left slots here, like this, and it says learnt, or you can put it into the fire slot here. That will destroy it and give you EMC equivalent to the item you destroyed, and it will also teach it as well. So if I were to go ahead and put the energy condensers in here, they are now learned, and they're available over here. And so really, we can just start throwing everything that we have that has an EMC value into the transmutation table. And going forward, if there's ever anything that we want, for example, more buckets now, we can just come in here, and so long as we have 768 EMC, we can just take the bucket, which is great. Diamond pickaxe-wise, we'll do it for this. You don't want to destroy this one because this one is enchanted. You don't get the enchants when you pull it out. One thing we can do, though, is we can make this even better because despite the fact that there's no quest for it, it is actually very easy for us to convert this transmutation table into a transmutation tablet. All we have to do is put it onto our depot underneath, not like that, put it on the depot underneath the mechanical press, like so. That's going to squash it down, and now we can right-click to open this no matter where we are in the world. We don't have to physically run back over to this placed down table. We can just take our tablet and right-click it to access everything that we need. Very cool stuff. Also, a second ago, we did see that we can get, it's kind of hard to do, I guess. You can shift right-click. If you don't shift right-click, you still get the essence, but you also open the table. But we can shift right-click to get air essence from the transmutation table. I'm assuming that will be useful at some point in the not-so-distant future. But now that we have this taken care of, there are a few different ways that we can go in the quest line here. But I think one of the ways that I'd like to start with is this little kind of side quest down here for the refined radiance, because this, as it says in big letters underneath, is for ingot duplication. And the benefit of that is that any item, or any ingot I should say, that doesn't have an EMC value is going to be duplicatable using the refined radiance, which I don't know how useful that's going to be at the moment. A lot of the ingots that we're currently working with do have EMC, although, for example, hepatizen here doesn't have an EMC value, and so going forward, we should be able to use the refined radiance here to duplicate that hepatizen without having to go through the process of making more hepatizen. I think the same is true for these crystal matrix ingots, never mind they have an EMC. One situation where this is going to be tremendously important for us is in the final quest line. The final quest line looks a little crazy because we have this infinity ingot. The infinity ingot here requires a pretty big craft with a ton of ingots and 4 infinity catalysts. The infinity catalysts also look a little bit crazy. They require singularities. They require all these items. They require ultimate stew. There's like a whole thing that we have to do to get the infinity catalysts to make the ingot. But unlike in previous packs, where we would have to make a ton of those ingots to make all of the required endgame items like this pickaxe here, with this pack, we only have to make 1 infinity ingot, because once we have 1, we can then use the refined radiance down here to duplicate those ingots basically as much as we like going forward. In fact, I think if we press U while hovering over this, if I type it in JI, refined radiance, and we press U, it'll show us here all of the ingots that we can duplicate, and it's basically every ingot that doesn't have an EMC value, and even the ones that do, you can duplicate with refined radiance, and the refined radiance isn't too difficult to make. The way we make it is we throw this stuff right here, this chromatic compound, into a beacon. You'll see it should say right here, throw a chromatic compound into a beacon ray to craft. So we place down a beacon, basically just throw the chromatic compound at the beacon, and it will transform it into refined radiance, and the chromatic compound is just glowstone, powdered obsidian, and polished rose quartz, which is just redstone and nether quartz. Pretty easy stuff. The hardest part, of course, is the beacon, which requires a nether star. Now, I do believe that it shouldn't be too difficult for us to get a nether star here, To get it, we're going to need 3 wither skeleton skulls. Let me bookmark those. Let's unbookmark all this stuff over here. We also need, of course, 4 soul sand, which we might actually already have. We don't, but we can make more by bulk haunting regular sand. Regular sand we do have, and just like before, we can now take that to our transmutation tablet, throw that in, and we can get really as much sand as we like because it only has an EMC value of 1. And along the same vein, over here, if we go ahead and pick this up, we can grab our flint and steel, light this up, drop down just the 1 sand on there, and you guessed it, as soon as we have exactly 1 soul sand, we can take it, put it into our table, boom, and now we can get as much soul sand as we like. Nice, we need 4. As for the wither skeleton skulls here, these, unfortunately, by the looks of it, don't have an EMC value. To make these, we are going to use this recipe right here that requires 1 skeleton skull with coal essence, basalt essence, and graphite essence. I think all of that should be pretty easy for us to do. The only thing we don't have is a skeleton skull. However, we can make beheading upgrades for our mob masher, and it's really not too difficult to make these. And if we make 10 of them, it's going to massively increase the amount of skulls that we get. So for 10 of them here, we would need 20 iron helmets and 20 gold helmets. Again, I think that's fine now because we can convert really anything. The hardest part here is that we have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got to do it manually because they don't stack, but that really shouldn't be too difficult for us, I don't think. And 40 helmets later, at that point, we just need gold nuggets. We'll take a few of those, and boom. Chat is right here that I'm a fool. We could have just made 1 of them and duplicated it with Project T. I'm going to have to get used to the fact that we can use Project T for everything now, but I've made all the helmets, so I feel like we might as well just shift-click the 10 of those out. Fantastic. Let's go and drop that into the mob masher over here. It's a shame that skeleton just died because we could have got the head from it. We'll do something like that, and hopefully that's going to get us a skeleton skull. Look at that. First try. Easy. Especially with 10 upgrades, it is so easy to get a ton of these things. In fact, we're going to have so many of them, it's might be a problem. But now that we have those, we just need the coal essence. Coal essence we have made before. We just take a block of coal and put it into the blood altar, like this. 1 and 2. Unfortunately, doesn't have an EMC value. Also, can I get this from a block of coal? I can. I should probably do that instead of wasting our life points going forward. We should take a block of coal and throw it down over here. I do still want to move this wall somewhere else. We'll work on that very shortly. Other than coal, we need graphite and skystone essence. Oh, and basalt. So there's a few different essences here. They all kind of look the same. Basalt we get from basalt. Skystone we get from skystone. And graphite we get from charcoal. So charcoal should be pretty straightforward. If we take ourselves 9 logs here, we can just smelt those in our currently non-existent furnace, although we did get a few furnaces from, again, the edge of the hidden realm. So let's do something like this with some coal in there. That'll get us the charcoal for the charcoal block, and that will get us the graphite essence. The skystone, I don't believe, was too difficult. We can get this by smelting skystone dust, and we can get skystone dust with this recipe right here. So we need ender dust, black stone, and an angel block. Ender dust is just ender pearls that have been ground down. That is very doable for us. We do have our crushing wheels over here, and I believe if I can, I was really hoping I could make that jump there. I think that I can if I do it from the fluid encapsulator. If I do this, I can indeed. Fantastic. Let's do 1 of those. That's going to get us all of the ender dust that we're going to need. And then as for the angel block here, this is made with feathers and sticks. Super easy stuff. And then black stone is nether essence and stone essence, or we can just bulk haunt some cobblestone. That seems like it's going to be a much easier way for us to do that. Again, we only need the 1 because once we've got 1, we can just EMC the rest. Once that's done, let's do this. Fantastic. And then we need just a couple of black stone. As for the angel block, it's the same idea here. We can do something like this. We're missing a feather, but that's fine. We can do this, and that allows us to get more feathers. Up at the top here, you can search, by the way, especially once you've got a lot of items. It's easier to search for the item that you're after. And over here, we can go boom and boom. There's our angel block. Teach that as well, and we can get more of those. And then if we combine the angel block with the ender dust and the basalt over in the induction smelter, boom, boom, and boom, that's going to get a skystone. The skystone, by the looks of it, does have an EMC value of its own. And so once again, we should really only need 1 of those. It doesn't have an EMC value, never mind. But we can just take 1 of those and smelt it up into a skystone block. And then, actually, we only need 1 because once we have 1, we can then just use the scythe. So over here, this is done. Fantastic. Let's craft that into a block of charcoal. Let's throw that down right here. That's not going to get confusing at all. That's going to get us the graphite essence that we want. Again, no EMC, unfortunately. Back over here, there is the skystone block. Let's throw that down maybe right about here. Again, no EMC on the skystone essence, but that is more than we are going to need. And so now, what are we missing? We're just missing the basalt essence, which we get from basalt, and basalt we can get, oh, of course, with the nether essence and the ice essence. So nether essence we don't have, although I do believe that I was told that netherrack will get us nether essence if we do this and this. It totally does. That's way easier than it was earlier in the pack. And then as far as ice essence is concerned, we did make it before because we got the ice block and then it melted. So we could make another one, but for now we have one and we're good. So let's go ahead and make our block of basalt like so. Again, let's make sure that we teach our system how to make more of it with the transmutation tablet. And then from there, we can just go ahead and throw it down onto the wall of random blocks, and we can get as much basalt essence as we need, which is everything for the Wither Skeleton Skull. Now, of course, we do need a few of these, and so we are going to have to get more of the different essences. But if we just do a quick one of these, a quick one of these, a quick one of these, and these, that should be, I think, more than enough of everything to get us 2 more Wither Skeleton Skulls. It is. Nice. And I'm fairly certain, chat, that we can use our mob masher here to kill the Wither. The only problem we might run into is that right now our mob masher is not particularly powerful. However, as I mentioned before, we do have access to the sharpness upgrades here, and these are going to make the mob masher deal substantially more damage to the point where basically any regular mob that hits the mob masher should die almost instantly. This time around, let's not be silly about it. Let's just buy 10 of these from the transmutation tablet as opposed to trying to craft all 10 of them, and then let's place those directly into here. And then we could put look upgrades in, but I don't believe you can get more than 1 nether star. I think 1 nether star is the maximum that you can get no matter what. And I'm fairly certain that the fan will push the Wither over into the mob masher. Now, the tinted glass, as it turns out, is witherproof, surprisingly, given how cheap it is. But if we hover over tinted glass, it says glass blocks designed to prevent light, tough enough to withstand withers. So right now, our roof is not made of a blast-proof material. If we wanted to, we could go ahead and break all of the wood there and replace it with tinted glass. It wouldn't be particularly difficult, but I do think it would look worse. Alternatively, what you can also do is go to the FTB chunks icon in the top left of the inventory screen, click claimed chunks, and then go ahead and claim the chunks. Like so, you just click and drag to select them all. At that point, now mobs cannot damage any items in your base. And so if we put the Wither down, it shouldn't deal any damage, which is a little cheesy, but at the same time, I think it's fine because we can, if we wanted to, we could build it in such a way that the Wither wouldn't destroy it anyway. I think it's just not worth the time to do it, especially given that I think it's going to look worse. And so now it should just be a case of putting down the required items here, and we should be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break this a little bit. I'm just going to do this. Ooh, no, let's do it here, I think. Like this. Can I think I can get there. Like this. And then let's, I don't want to get blown away too much by that fan. Let's do this, and then I want to make sure, if I hold shift, do I get blown away? I don't. Let's go. Let's do this and this. I don't want to get attacked at all. And then if we do this, hopefully, we should see the Wither get pushed directly over into the corner, and it should die pretty quickly. You'll see all the other mobs now are kind of dying straight away as soon as they, oh, okay, that's a bad start. So the trouble that we ran into there is that we should definitely have built it in such a way that the Wither didn't get stuck on the roof. The other thing that we can learn here is that I'm fairly certain the Forgiving Void mod is in the pack. So I think if you fall into the void, you should, yeah, that'll land once again as soon as you land. Now, the bad news is that despite the fact that we have a sword, I don't think we're going to be able to kill this guy. Do we have any arrows? We must do, right? Yeah, we got a few arrows. I think this is going to end badly for us, though. The good news about them killing the cows, though, is that there's a bunch of wither roses down there, and those wither roses should help us. Hello, my friend. Should help us. I think they are required for certain crafts. The good news is that we are being fed automatically by our backpack, and so we should kind of regenerate health pretty quickly. Okay, so there's good news and there's bad news here. The good news is that we got the Nether Star. That's the pretty good news. The bad news is that despite our base claims, the Wither did do quite the number on our blood altar here. That fight took forever. That might be the longest Wither fight I've done. Having to try and kill the Wither with just a regular bow is not ideal. Thankfully, it looks like too many runes didn't get destroyed. And also, it looks like some of the runes that did get destroyed kind of just got thrown on the floor. I thought I picked up some runes just a second ago. I did. Here we go. So we can kind of throw these back down. Let me try and do it in the same order that we had them down initially. So we'll do the Rune of Self-Sacrifice right there. It looks like for the most part, we kind of just lost some glowstone and some regular stone bricks. So stone brick wise, we have stone bricks. The bloodstone wise, we do still have some more bloodstone bricks, and so we can replace the one bloodstone brick that was taken away. And so for the most part, that actually wasn't too bad. We did lose all of our cows, but we also did manage to get some wither roses. These wither roses are required, I believe, in order to make certain items going forward. It might be this salve here, but I'm fairly certain I saw a recipe that did require the wither rose, and so I think that is going to come in useful. Oh, it was this one right here, I think. Was it this one? But yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was that it was required for, but I'm pretty sure we do need it for something. So let's EMC it. Chat is right. Let's do this. We can get more of those in the future. And then let me quickly rebuild this altar with some more stone bricks, some more glowstone, and some more bloodstone bricks, and then we'll look at getting the refined radiance up and running. All right, so that was actually much quicker to repair than I thought. I did actually have this large bloodstone brick in my inventory, and so this is back up to tier 4. Fantastic. We have a nether star, which thankfully we can EMC for future nether star access, and now it's just a case of crafting a standard Minecraft beacon. That standard Minecraft beacon is going to require at least one obsidian, and it looks like, being the fool that I am, I don't have any. Thankfully, I think this does have an EMC value. It totally does. That is very nice indeed. Make sure we teach it, and then boom, we can get ourselves a beacon. And now with this beacon, we should be able to kind of just infinitely produce the refined radiance, and therefore kind of infinitely produce any ingot that we like. So let's see, if we wanted to get the chromatic compound, let me bookmark that. As we saw a second ago, we need polished quartz, which thankfully does have an EMC, glowstone, which also has an EMC, and then pounded obsidian, which is just regular obsidian through the crushing wheels. There's no EMC there, but again, the crushing wheels are pretty quick, and the regular obsidian does have EMC. So over here, if we can make this jump again, which I think we can, fantastic, we can then go ahead and crush a 4 stack of obsidian. The feeding upgrade and the nutrient bricks helped us tremendously with that wither fight. We were regenerating health just so fast that the wither couldn't really do too much to us, which was very nice indeed. Let me, while I wait for that, I guess, get at least one of the rose quartz here, and let's grab our sandpaper, which might have been used up. That's fine. We can make another sandpaper. It is just sand and paper. Sand we apparently do not have, but again, that is fine because we can get it from our transmutation tablet. Boom, and boom, and boom. Nice. Let's teach this. Fantastic. Let's get a stack of those, or as many as we can get, I guess. And then from there, we just need glowstone, which we have. Cool. And so is it just a craft? No, it's induction smelter. That makes a lot more sense. Boom, boom, and boom. Perfect. Let's give that a quick accelerate, and we can then take that chromatic compound. We can then throw that chromatic compound kind of at the top of the beacon. And if we catch it, which I almost fell into the void there, if we catch it, we get the refined radiance. So I think what we might want to do here, I don't know if it's going to fall or not, but I think what we should probably do is we should probably look at getting some kind of item collector. Much like the vacuumulator that we already have, the item collector is kind of the same deal. We could have made another vacuumulator, this thing right here, but the item collector is just easier, I think. And I think what we should probably do is throw a chest down, maybe like here, put the item collector on top of it. You can then, actually, if we upgrade this to the advanced item collector, I believe that you can then filter. So item collector, I think the advanced item collector is more of the same. It is, we just need one Eye of Ender, which we can definitely make. Boom, boom. Let's put this down here, and then we should be able to either whitelist or blacklist certain items. If, for example, I blacklisted the chromatic compound, which by the looks of it doesn't stack. It does stack, but I don't know why it didn't stack in the induction smelter there. But over here, if I blacklist chromatic compound, that way when I throw this on the ground, it's going to not pick up the chromatic compound, but as soon as it turns into refined radiance, that gets picked up. I am going to change this to whitelist refined radiance, like that, because I really don't want this picking up any like random stuff that I throw on the ground. I only want it to pick up the refined radiance, which it now will do. We can just drop this 1, 2, 3 onto the beacon, and all of that gets collected in there. And if we really wanted to, we could kind of head on out over to here and somewhat awkwardly try to grab that last little bit of refined radiance. Cool. And with this, we can just craft it with any given ingot, and it will duplicate that ingot. So you take 1 ingot and 1 refined radiance, and then you get a second ingot. Cool. So going forward, if we ever find ourselves in a situation with an ingot that doesn't have an EMC value, and we want more of that ingot, and we have 1 of it, the refined radiance could be the way to do it. It's not super cheap, but it's also very cheap compared to a lot of ingots, and so it's probably well worth doing, especially, as I mentioned before, with those infinity ingots. Now down here, we actually didn't complete the quests for this because it looks like we do need to craft a pulverizer first to actually tick that quest off. Thankfully, the pulverizer doesn't look too difficult. Again, I do need to get into the habit of just doing this so that we have these for the future and we don't have to keep manually crafting them as we go forward. Same is true with like the flux coil. I feel like I might as well just quickly throw that in there for future reference. And then copper gears should be, that's not a copper gear, copper gears. Do we not have any iron nuggets? Is that the problem? Let me try this, and then let me try putting some of this stuff back and away. Let's do 2 of these, 1 and 2. Perfect. And then let's make a pulverizer. Nice. I don't really foresee us needing a ton of pulverizers, but just in case, we'll go ahead, save it, throw it down, and that should be that quest complete. It is indeed. And then I do have more chromatic compound, fantastic, and of course over here we have the refined radiance. Nice, so that's those quests complete. Let's do a quick 1, 2, 3, 4 just to get more of that refined radiance, fantastic. And so now, the next thing I'd like to do is I would like to go back to the first quest line actually, because I recently updated the pack, and by the first quest line I mean the second quest line, because there's now a quest for this repair talisman, which people have been telling me about, and I do think is worth investing in here. It's pretty easy to make, mostly just requires covalence dust, and it can be taught over here. The benefit of this is that it's going to allow us to repair passively tools in our inventory. You'll see right here, just with having the talisman in our inventory, this scythe here is repairing itself. It's at 175, 176. Its durability is going back up to full. And I believe we can even put this into one of our curio slots over on the left here. It goes into the belt, which is maybe further down. Yeah, there it is. Boom. And so now, with that in our inventory, all of the items that have a durability in our inventory are just going to start to slowly but surely repair themselves. You'll see that the pickaxe here is also repairing itself, the diamond sword is repairing itself, and the scythe, most importantly, I guess, is repairing itself. That way we don't have to keep making more and more scythes. Going forward, we can just take that one scythe and continually repair it. I'm also fairly certain, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that this works in a regular chest. For example, if I put the scythe in here and I put the bauble and I put the repair talisman in here, I don't think that repairs this. It doesn't. However, I do believe that if you put it into an alchemical chest, that will repair it. Now, the only thing I'm missing for that is a diamond. I should have EMC'd the diamonds earlier when I had them, because now we're a little low on diamonds. And so, thankfully, as soon as we get 1 diamond, we can make even more. And I think, oh, we can also do this. I completely forget that you can craft a Philosopher's Stone with gold to get a diamond. That actually makes it so much easier. And then we can put this in here. Fantastic. And then at that point, we can just grab a few stacks of ender pearls, kind of drop those in, and that should get us a bunch of diamonds. Fantastic. That allows us to make the alchemical chest. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that if we put, and I've got to start shifting out the, basically, every time I finish a craft, I do this, and then I just press escape to close the inventory. I need to press the X first so that I don't get all of the items put into my inventory. Anyway, back over here, I think if we do this and this, I think that will repair it while it's in the alchemical chest. This is good for a few reasons. The main one, though, is that I think that allows us to automate the usage of the scythe. The scythe itself doesn't have an EMC, unfortunately. But, and also we don't have a an andesite alloy. That is fine. Let me, do we not have any andesite either? That's okay. Can we make andesite? We definitely can, using the old craft, which is this one right here. We don't have any cobblestone, but we actually do have cobblestone. It's just over here. Let's try that again. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 4 gravel. Let's do this and this. Let's teach that to our tablet. And then let's also do the same with the actual andesite alloy itself. We'll take you and we'll teach you to the tablet. Basically, what I'm trying to see here is if we can use the crank. The crank is just like a handheld way of doing what the water wheels are doing over here with create. But my thought process is that if we were to steal one of these deployers are able to left click or right click onto certain blocks. And so I think that if I were to place the hand down like this, I think I can then use the wrench to rotate this in such a way that it faces this way. And then I think it's one of these. Let me see. If I do this and I do this and I crank this, look at that. We can use create and the deployers to automatically use the scythe. Now, I do believe that that is going to use up the durability on the scythe. So over here, if I take that scythe off, it is at full durability. If I leave that on, does that use any durability? Obviously, you can make this much faster because the crank is not particularly quick. It seemingly doesn't use any durability, which is insane. I really thought it would, because when I right-click, it, oh, it also doesn't use durability. How in the world have I been using my durability on this thing? Maybe now that it's fully repaired, it doesn't have durability? I'm very confused, but I'm also not complaining. I don't think... oh, no, we did use it to kill mobs. That makes so much more sense, chat. Thank you. Okay. So, ignore me. We can use the repair talisman for basically anything that we want to repair. I was thinking we might have to do some automation where we extract the scythe from the deployer, kind of insert it into the chest to let it repair, and then extract it once it's repaired and place it back in the deployer. But we don't. And so, if we wanted to, we could look at making more of these scythes. We would need more Gaussum, which, again, unfortunately doesn't have an EMC, but you can duplicate it with refined radiance. So we'd only have to make one of the Gaussum ingots this time around. Before we were making all of the Gaussum, of course, with this recipe right here. Going forward, we could just make one and then duplicate it with refined radiance. And then once we have all those ingots, we can just, of course, make as many scythes as we like. And so really all of the essence here is automatable. Most of it, I don't think needs to be automated because, of course, things like obsidian essence is mostly just used to make obsidian, and obsidian itself is EMCable, so it's not really a problem. However, people have been talking about something like netherite, because the netherite has a pretty high EMC value of 57,339, and once we have a block of netherite, we can then just use the scythe to get infinite netherite essence, craft that netherite essence into netherite ingots, and then we can use that for EMC going forward. Twitch chat is pointing out that I am a fool. The scythe itself does have an EMC value of 1. A second ago, I checked that, and I thought it didn't, so it might be the case that if it... yeah, okay, so this is where I was getting confused. If you don't have a fully repaired scythe, the EMC value is non-existent. You can't EMC it. However, if you fully repair it with the repair talisman, you can then just make as many of these as you like. It's not called the scythe, it's called the Essentia, Icalius. But look at that, we can make as many of these as we want. They cost 1 EMC, which is absolute madness. And so, yeah, if we wanted to, we could look at automating basically all of these going forward, which is absolute insanity, but could be particularly useful for certain items, especially if we do want to get a large amount of EMC, which I think is definitely something that we would like to look towards doing in, hopefully, the not-so-distant future. Anyway, now that we have all of that taken care of, the final thing that I'd like to do in this episode is I'd like to actually get some storage drawers going for mostly all the mob drops that we're getting, because our mob drops are very much filling up our chest quite quickly here. We do have a lot of space left, especially since we took out all of the looting upgrades from our mob farm, but it would still be a lot nicer, I think, if we got drawers for each of the respective mob drops and put some void upgrades into those to allow us to delete any excess items once we get to a certain amount. And so, if we want to get a certain amount, now, unfortunately, it looks like we don't have framed drawers in the pack, and so we are going to have to pick one of the kind of standard drawers here to work with. And so for us, I think that's either going to be Dark Oak or Crimson. And I kind of always go with Dark Oak, but we do already have Dark Oak. And so you know what? We're going to stick with Dark Oak. That is completely fine. We've got a bunch of Dark Oak over here. Let's take out maybe a stack of logs, like so. And then we'll make a bunch of planks, and then let's do a bunch of chests as well. And I think we'll essentially just go ahead and make a bunch of full-size drawers, because we do need a lot of space for all the drops that we're getting. So let's do something like this. And I think what we'll do is we'll start putting these down probably back here. We can move this furthest now. It's not really too necessary. And if we just do something like this, we can start filling up this space behind the chest, or next to the chest, I guess, with storage drawers. I would like to make it symmetrical, but that would involve moving this digester here. And so I might look at doing that at some point between streams. For now, though, if we just do something like this, and ideally, I would also prefer, if that was not one block further back, I would prefer it kind of right about here. But essentially what we're going to do, chat, is a few things. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to lock these drawers. To lock those drawers, we need a drawer key, this guy right here, which is pretty straightforward. 2 gold, 1 nugget, and an upgrade template. The upgrade template is just a basic drawer with sticks, easy enough. And boom, the key allows us to lock the drawer, which is going to lock it to whatever item we put into it first. And we'll do that to all of these drawers here as well, just to be safe. And we'll also do it over here. From there, we're also going to get a drawer controller, this guy right here. For that, we're just missing 2 redstone comparators, which require just 6 redstone torches. And this is going to allow us to hook up all of our drawers very easily to our simple storage network, because that's kind of a problem that we currently have. Essentially, any drawer that is connected to this drawer controller is accessible via the drawer controller. And so what we should be able to do, if I can get back here, is, for example, place down the drawer controller right about here, and then we can either use drawers or trim to connect drawers to the drawer controller. Trim basically just acts like a drawer that doesn't do anything. In our scenario, that's not ideal, but again, we do have Forgiving Void on, so we will kind of just fall right through back into the base. We will take a lot of damage, but we should regenerate fast enough to where it's fine. You do need to be on full health when you do that, otherwise you will die, just an FYI. But over here, if we do trim here and trim here, that trim is going to connect these drawers up to that controller. And so, for example, if I were to put, let's say, slime into this drawer, like this, there's now 64 slime in there, and now going forward, if I right-click that slime onto the drawer controller, like this, that slime makes its way around into this drawer because they're connected. And so what we're going to do is we're now going to put a link cable down onto that drawer controller, and that's going to give us access to all of the stuff in all of the drawers that's connected to that controller. Now, to do that, we don't need to run a cable all the way over there. Do we have any network cable? We do. It does have an EMC value, which is incredibly useful. The same is true for the filtered link cables as well. We should make sure that all of those are EMC'd where possible. And then, let's see. We might have to get a little bit of water here, potentially, although I might be able to reach through there, and I think that's actually fine. Let me try with something specific. How many spider heads do we have? 0. If I put these in, let's say over here, and I check again, spider head, those are now available. Cool. And we can also take that one step further, because of course, if we connect up these drawers here to these drawers here with trim, that's also going to give us the ability to access all the stuff in these drawers from our system as well. And so let's get a couple more trim here. And at that point, I think I'm probably going to want to get a bucket of water so that we can get kind of down below the platform. That should be very straightforward. We should also look at some point sooner rather than later, I guess, at trying to get some kind of jetpack or some kind of creative flight so that we don't have to worry too much about endlessly falling into the void. But over here, if we do kind of 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, like that, we can then pick up the water, and now we should have access to all of our dark oak, as you can see right here, from this drawer via our system. And we could also do the same thing with our nutrient bars as well, if we wanted to connect those up. All I need to do now is cover that back up with crimson logs, and all we have to do now is fill these drawers in with their respective mob drops. Now, each drawer, of course, can only hold 2,048 items, and right now we have more than 2,048 of a lot of items. Thankfully, we can make drawer upgrades, and those drawer upgrades shouldn't be too difficult for us. Do we have any emeralds? We don't, but we can make emeralds with diamonds and a philosopher's stone, like this. And then, of course, we can EMC those, and the reason I want emeralds in particular is that the emeralds are used for the highest tier drawer upgrade. This drawer upgrade increases the storage by 32 times the base value. So the base value is 2,048, multiply that by 32 gets you to 65,530 in terms of drawer storage. And so to make these, we just need 2 emeralds per. That does mean we're going to need a bit more EMC. But again, that should be completely fine. We've got so many ender pearls, and they're a pretty good EMC source. So if we do this and take a couple of those out, we should then be able to make a couple of these, and then we should be able to throw those into drawers like this, and then we can look at filling these drawers with the items. The Twitch chat does make a good point here. One thing you can do, and that we probably should do, is set the priority on this filtered link cable to be the highest. So I do need to be able to right-click on that, which is probably going to be easier done if I can kind of get down here a little bit. If I stand here, can I right-click that cable? I don't think I can, annoyingly. I might have to go kind of one block further down. I can... No, I can't. Oh, I can. There we go. Okay, cool. So if we set this to a lower number, let's say we set this to -5, you'll see that it says promotes priority. You'll see that it says smaller goes first. So the lower the priority, the more likely the item is to go there. We're going to set the priority on the chest to like 5 and the priority on the draw controller to -5, so that essentially whenever we put any items into our simple storage network, it should first try and put them into the storage drawer. So if I do this, it should put them in here, which it did. And then only when there's no space in the storage drawer will it then try and put things into the chest. The final piece of the puzzle, of course, is just to get some void upgrades. These are pretty straightforward. Again, it's an upgrade template base, which I'm going to EMC real quick because they're not too hard to make, but they're a bit of a pain if you need to make new drawers every time. And then we'll make one of these. And I am now realizing that we should have also done the same thing with the storage upgrade as well. If we just take this guy here, we don't have to go through the hassle of getting emeralds every time. We can just do that. Fantastic. And putting the void upgrade on like this basically just means that as soon as the drawer is full, any excess items will just get deleted. So with the tier 5 storage upgrade in here, if we get more than 65,000 slime balls, the excess slime balls should just be deleted instead of getting thrown into the chest and clogging everything up, which I think is ideal. You can also put more than one storage upgrade in, by the way. So if you wanted to, you could take another one of these tier 5 storage upgrades, put that in as well. Those don't multiply again, so you don't get 32 times 65,000. Instead, you just get like another 63,000. It does the same addition again, and so it would kind of double it to about 128,000. But for now, I think 65,000 is fine. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and kind of just move over all of the mob drops between episodes so that we have drawers for basically everything that we're getting from the mob farm, at least in very, very large quantities. And then that should hopefully free up our chest storage for whatever else we want to use it for in the future. And next time, I think we'll come back and we'll look at progressing forward, probably down here towards the tier 5 blood altar. We'll also look at some point fairly soon at getting towards the netherite as well, because I do think automating the scythe and automating the production of netherite for EMC is going to be quite good for us. And we also, of course, at some point want to look towards working towards this Watch of Flowing Time, which is kind of like a temporal pouch that you can use all the time, and that is just insanely powerful. And of course, there's the power mod here, which is going to allow us to get a ton of power, you guessed it, and it's also required to make the Watch of Flowing Time. And once all that's done, we're kind of into the late game, for sure. There is a final quest down here, but this quest line is really just a quest to make an infinity ingot and then duplicate that infinity ingot for the world breaker. This quest line is pretty short, so this kind of quest line here, I think, is really the last stretch, is really the end game. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. For now, we're going to start working towards the tier 5 altar, which is going to get even bigger with even more runes and require even more blood magic shenanigans. But that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Project Sacrifice there.